or to negotiate peace certainly belonged to the War Cabinet, but not to it alone. When the whole government met, it could also intervene in the conduct of the conflict. If Churchill were to preempt the War Cabinet and succeed in gathering the entire government, the situation could change. Churchill knew the government was not completely aware of everything that had been happening in the War Cabinet. The chaos of the military situation obscured everything else. Churchill could count on several of his relatives he had deliberately appointed as ministers. For example, Anthony Eden had supported him long before Munich, or Lord Beaverbrook, the great press baron and minister of aircraft production. And finally, there were the labor members who had just joined the National Unity Government. These labor members were fiercely anti-fascist and were ready to fully support the war effort. Churchill might be able to convince them. Against all odds, he requested an emergency meeting of the entire government. And he launched his offensive with his most formidable weapon, his extraordinary eloquence. He only had time for a speech, no more, no less, to win the game.
I have thought carefully these last days whether it was part of my duty to consider entering negotiations with Hitler. But it was idle to think that we may try to make peace now. We should get better terms from Germany than if we go on and fight it out. Therefore, we shall go on, and we shall fight it out, here or elsewhere, and if at the last long story is to end, it is better it should end not through surrender, but only when we are rolling senseless on the ground.
Immediately, the ministers, carried away by emotion, stood up and cheered Churchill. He was applauded, congratulated, given a standing ovation. Churchill wrote in his memoirs,
"Each minister, I am sure, was ready to be killed on the spot, and to see his property and his family destroyed. A dazzling light crossed our island from end to end.
Britain would fight no matter what happened. This determination, this call for the love of a country and its democracy, this fierce determination to resist Hitler at all costs, Churchill would transmit it to the British people thanks to his sensational speeches throughout the conflict.
We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, we shall never surrender."
And as he had expected, thanks to radar, thanks to Enigma, thanks especially to the Hurricanes and Spitfire's young pilots, Britain would fight off the attack of the Luftwaffe. The British Channel would not be crossed. And unable to bring down Britain, Hitler would seek victory in the Russian steppes, where the Wehrmacht would lose. America would eventually join the war with all of its industrial power, and after 5 years of war, Germany would surrender over the smoking ruins of Berlin. These events saved Europe from an evil tyranny, and the seeds of these events were all contained within the meeting of May 28, 1940, when one man forged the will of a nation and made his mark at a decisive turning point in the war.